I gave my father a $20,000 birthday gift, but he said money doesn't buy respect, mediocre. My mother nodded, so I tore up the check and stopped paying their bills. My name is Wilson. I'm 24 now, but this happened a while ago when I tried to give my dad, Omar, the biggest birthday present of my life. Ever since I was a kid, my dad was always my hero. He worked in a factory. He'd come home exhausted, with calloused hands. But he always brought me something. A little toy car, an old ball, cheap candy. No matter what it was, I saw it like he was giving me the world. He'd say, "You're my champ," and ruffle my hair. And I felt like the happiest kid on the planet. My mom, Marcella, would be in the kitchen making tasty food with the little we had. And my younger brother Juan was the typical little kid who played with everything he found. We were poor, but I felt like we had everything. That was until I turned 22. That's when everything changed. I found a way to make money online, something that started as a hobby. I uploaded videos teaching simple things, like how to fix a cell phone, how to edit photos, that sort of stuff. One day, one of them went viral, and suddenly major brands were paying me to promote their products. In less than a year, I was making more money than my dad had ever seen in his life, sweating in that factory. Don't get me wrong, it wasn't easy at first. But compared to what he went through, it felt like a game to me. That's where the problem started. My dad didn't handle it well at the beginning. He'd make jokes like, "Ooh, the millionaire of the house, don't forget us poor folk." But I noticed something off in his expression. His eyes weren't smiling like before. It was envy, though it was hard for me to accept that. He'd spent his whole life working himself to the bone for a miserable wage. And I, his son, was swimming in money without suffering like he did. I think it ate him up inside. Even so, I didn't want it to tear us apart. With my earnings, I started paying the rent, electricity, water, internet so that Juan could play his video games. I even bought them a new TV because the old one didn't work anymore. My mom would say, "Thanks, son," in a dry but sincere tone, and Juan would just say, "Cool," and keep doing his own thing. But my dad never thanked me. He'd grumble or change the subject, as if my help offended him. Then his birthday arrived. I wanted to do something special, something big. I thought about giving him a $20,000 check. It wasn't just money. It was my way of giving back everything he gave me as a kid, of telling him, "Dad, now you can rest. I'll look after you." I spent weeks imagining his reaction, nervous but excited. I wanted him to be proud of me. The day came on a Saturday. My mom made roast chicken. We put up cheap balloons. A banner that said, "Happy birthday, Omar." Juan was on the couch with his phone, and my dad was in his armchair with a beer. I waited until after the cake, then stood up, my heart racing. I took the envelope from my pocket and gave it to him. "Dad, this is for you," I said, trying to sound calm. "Happy birthday." He raised an eyebrow, opened the envelope, and saw the check. I expected a smile, a hug, something, anything, but got nothing, just silence. My mom and Juan watched curiously. Then my dad spoke in a tone. "What is this?" "It's a present, Dad. $20,000 for you to do whatever you want. Maybe quit the factory." I couldn't finish. He let out a dry laugh like it disgusted him and threw the check onto the table as if it were a dirty rag. "Money? This is what you give me?" he said, raising his voice. "Money doesn't buy respect, you mediocre fool. You think your money is going to impress me?" I froze. I felt like someone had punched me in the gut. I wanted to say something, but words wouldn't come out. I just stared at him, hoping it was a joke, but his eyes were full of contempt. A contempt I had never seen before. My mom crossed her arms. "It's true, Wilson. Money isn't everything. You should know that." And Juan, who almost never chimes in, snickered and added, "Yeah, bro, that's a crappy present. Guess you don't really know Dad." I felt like my world was crashing down. I'd planned this for weeks, thinking it would be one of the best moments of our lives, but instead, they were crushing me. The worst part was still to come. Juan got up and gave his gift to my dad, a cheap little keychain with a tiny car on it, something he must have bought for $2 at a store. My dad took it in both hands, smiled like he'd been handed gold, and said, "Thanks, son. You really know how to give gifts, not like some people." That phrase broke me. I looked at my family. My dad with his keychain, my mom nodding, my brother smiling like he was better than me. And something inside me snapped. I grabbed the check from the table and left the house without saying a word. The outside air hit my face, but it didn't calm me. And as I walked, I tore the check in tears. I was trembling with anger and pain. I couldn't sleep that night, so I decided that if they didn't want my money, they wouldn't get it. I'd stop paying their bills. I'd stop helping them. If they so despised what I did, let them manage on their own. The next day, I made my decision. For months, I'd been the one supporting the house, paying electricity, water, internet, everything. Even the new TV I bought them was still in the living room, and I was sure they were using it while talking bad about me. So I said, enough. If my money was so worthless to them, if they saw me as a show-off for trying to help, then I wouldn't keep doing it. I canceled the automatic payments I'd set up from my account and stopped sending them a single cent. If they despised what I did so much, then let them figure it out on their own. The first few days after that were strange. I felt free, like I'd taken a huge weight off my shoulders. But it also hurt. A part of me hoped my dad would call me, that he'd say, "Wilson, I made a mistake. Let's talk." But it never happened. Neither he, nor my mom, nor Juan tried to reach out. The silence was the worst part. It was like they didn't care that I wasn't around anymore. Or worse, like they felt relieved. A week passed, and then the drama started. My mom texted me, "Wilson, the power's been cut. What's going on with the payments?" I didn't reply. Then Juan wrote, "Hey, there's no internet. What did you do?" I still didn't answer. Finally, my dad called, but it wasn't to apologize. His voice was full of resentment. "What's your problem? You think you can punish us because we didn't applaud your little gift? You're ungrateful." I hung up without a word. I wasn't going to let them make me feel guilty again. That's when I realized something that broke my heart. All of them envied me. It wasn't just my dad. My mom with her forced thanks and Juan with his "I don't care" attitude also resented my success in their own ways. My dad was the most obvious. Sure. He'd spent his life working for peanuts, and I, in just a couple of years, had earned more than he ever dreamed of. But my mom and Juan, too, saw me as a threat in their own way, as though my success made them feel smaller. After that call, I isolated myself. I kept making my videos, earning more money, but I didn't talk about my family to my friends or on social media. It was as if I'd deleted them from my life, but I couldn't shake the loneliness. One night, while editing a video, I started thinking about how things used to be. When my dad would bring me those cheap little toys and I'd look at him like he was Superman. When did everything go so wrong? Was it my fault for earning money so quickly? Or had that envy always been there, waiting to come out? A month later, after all that silence, my mom messaged me. It said, "Wilson, we need to talk. Things are really tough here." I didn't know what to expect, but something in me softened a bit. Maybe I felt guilty for leaving them high and dry, or maybe I missed my family despite how they'd torn me apart. I answered with a simple, "Okay." When I got to the house, I felt knots in my stomach. It was strange to return after so much time. I knocked, and my mom, Marcella, opened. She had dark circles under her eyes and messy hair, like she hadn't slept well in days. She let me in without saying much, just a curt, "Come in." The dining room looked the same as ever, but the feeling was different. My dad's birthday banner was obviously gone, but the TV I'd bought was still there, on low volume. Juan was sprawled on the couch looking at his phone, and my dad, Omar, was in his armchair with a beer in his hand, as usual. No one greeted me warmly. They just looked at me, and the air turned heavy. I sat in a dining chair facing my mom, who stood with her arms crossed. I thought she might say something gentle like, "We missed you," or maybe, "Hey, sorry about what happened." But no. What she said chilled me. "Wilson, this can't go on." She started, and it sounded more like a scolding than a plea. They cut the power for 3 days last week. The internet's been off for weeks. Do you want us to sink because of your pride? I stayed quiet, trying to process it. Was she really blaming me after everything? Before I could answer, my dad let out a sarcastic chuckle from his armchair and jumped in. Right. The great Wilson punishing us because we didn't cheer for his check, he said, looking at me like I was a stranger. What did you expect? That we'd thank you for throwing your money in our faces? That hurt a lot. I tried to keep calm and answered, though my voice trembled a bit. That wasn't about showing off, Dad. I wanted to help you, to finally give you something good. Everything I did was because I wanted to support you. My mom shook her head, as if she didn't believe me. Supporting us isn't about throwing money at us and then taking it away because you don't like how we reacted. That's selfish, Wilson. That's when Juan glanced up from his phone and tossed in his own comment with that annoying little laugh that drives me crazy. Besides, bro, if you're doing so well, why not keep paying our stuff? It's nothing for you, right? He said, shrugging. Or do you prefer to see us screwed over? I looked at each of them in turn. My dad with his beer and his scorn, my mom with that judge-like expression, my brother with his careless attitude. It was like the birthday scene all over again, only worse. They were attacking me, making me feel like I was the bad guy for not continuing to be their ATM. Something in me broke again. I stood up with my hands clenched into fists. If my money bothers you so much, then you don't need it, right? I said, staring my dad straight in the eyes. I'm tired of you treating me like garbage for trying to help you. My dad stood up too, and for a second I thought he was going to come closer, but he just pointed at the door. Then leave. We don't need a show-off like you around here, he growled. I always knew you'd start thinking you're better than us. My mom said nothing, just lowered her gaze. Juan snickered again and turned back to his phone. And me? I couldn't take it anymore. I spun around and left the house, slamming the door so hard I'm sure the neighbors heard it. As I walked toward my car, I felt tears burning my eyes, but I didn't let them fall, not this time. That night, I promised myself I wouldn't let them step on me again. I'd tried to help them, to give them everything I could, and all I got was contempt in return. I was done. A week went by after that. I carried on with my life, posting videos, working on my projects, trying not to think about them. Then my phone rang. It was my dad, Omar. When I saw his name, I almost didn't pick up. I thought about letting it ring, but something made me hit the green button. His voice wasn't like the last time, full of anger. This time, it was broken. Wilson, son, he began, and just that. It shocked me because he hadn't called me son in years. Please listen, we need your help. We don't have enough money for the bills. The power's about to be shut off again, and the water. I don't know how we'll pay for everything. I swear I'm sorry. I'm sorry I didn't take the check. Sorry I pushed you away. I was an idiot. Forgive me just this once. I stayed silent. Hearing him beg like that was something I never imagined. Part of me wanted to believe him, to run over and help them the way I always used to. But then I remembered his birthday. How he threw the check on the table, how he called me mediocre and stuck up, my mom and Juan backing him up while making me feel worthless. That apology was too little, too late. Dad, I said, trying to keep my voice steady, do you know how it felt when you treated me like garbage? When you told me my gift was worthless? I did everything I could for you, and it was never enough. I can't keep doing this. He tried interrupting, begging more. Please, Wilson, just this one time. We don't know what to do. We're your family. You should have thought about that sooner, I answered. I'm not going to help you. We're done. I hung up and put my phone on silent. My heart was racing, but I didn't regret it. For the first time in a long time, I felt like I was in control. I wasn't going to be their lifeline after nearly drowning under their envy and scorn. If they couldn't appreciate me when I held out my hand, they didn't deserve that hand again. I haven't heard from them since. A couple of weeks have gone by, and although my mom messaged me calling me cruel, I didn't reply. Juan hasn't bothered to text, and my dad hasn't called again. I guess they're trying to manage on their own, like they always said they wanted. And me? I'm learning to live without that weight. I keep earning my money, and finally, I feel like I don't have to prove anything to anyone. Update? Hi, everyone. I see many comments from you, some supporting my decision and others questioning it, saying that family stands by each other no matter what. But that's exactly what I tried to do. Support them, help them. And all I got in return was their contempt. So my decision won't change. Many of you also asked for an update on what happened with my family after I cut off all support and stopped talking to them. It's been 2 months since my last post, and yesterday I found out some things that, honestly, I'm not sure how to feel about them. I'll share what I learned because it's still crazy to me. I spoke to a close cousin who told me everything. Turns out my dad, Omar, got fired from the factory where he had worked his whole life. According to my cousin, the company was downsizing staff, and since he wasn't performing like before, his age and exhaustion caught up with him, he was one of the first to go. He was left with nothing, no pay, no savings, no way to cover the bills that had been piling up ever since I stopped helping them. In the end, they couldn't keep paying the rent at the house where we all used to live, and they got evicted. Yeah, kicked out. My cousin said it was a disaster. The neighbors saw them throwing their stuff out on the street while my mom cried and my dad was yelling at everyone. Now my dad got a new job, but it's just a shadow of what he had before. He's working as a security guard in a parking lot, overnight shifts that pay next to nothing. My cousin says he looks worn out, barely making enough to eat, constantly complaining about how unfair life is. I don't know exactly how much he earns, but it's probably a mediocre salary that doesn't come close to covering what they need. My mom, Marcella, is also in a tough spot. She had to sell the TV I bought them, the one they used to watch while they criticized me. She sold it for a few bucks to a neighbor, presumably to buy food or pay some debt. My cousin says she spends her days looking for anything left to sell, but there's hardly anything left. The place they're living in now is a little rented room in a cheap neighborhood with almost no furniture. It's like everything they built has collapsed. And my brother Juan, well, he decided he wasn't going to sink with them. He moved out to live with a friend of his, one of those guys he used to play video games with all day. He left my parents behind without a backward glance. My cousin says Juan is going around saying it's not his problem and that he's fed up with everything. I don't know how my dad took that, but I imagine he's not happy his favorite son left him like that. When my cousin told me all this, I didn't know how to feel. Part of me felt bad, like maybe I could have prevented it if I'd kept helping them. But then I think about how they treated me, their scorn, all the times they made me feel like nothing, and that feeling fades. They chose this. My dad could have accepted my help. He could have appreciated what I tried to do, but he clung to his pride. My mom and Juan backed him up, and now they're facing the consequences. Meanwhile, I'm living my own life. I just signed a contract with a big brand that's going to pay me more than I earned last year. I'm saving up to move to a better apartment, and for the first time, I feel like I'm building something for myself, not to please anyone else. Sometimes I look at my phone and consider writing them, but then I remember what they said to me, and I change my mind. That's all, Reddit. I think my family and I are officially on different paths. I don't know if they'll ever try to reach out again, but for now, I'm good where I am. What do you think? Did I do the right thing by staying firm, or should I have given in at some point? Thanks for reading again. It really helps me to put all this into words. Subscribe for more daily stories.